I encourage everyone out there to start experimenting with telling the truth. And I say this because telling the truth is crucial to receiving God's love. So if you remember the equation from a previous video, it is humility plus truth equals God's love, or truth plus humility equals God's love. Sounds easy, right? I can just tell the truth, no big deal, right? Well, it's actually a lot harder than you think, because every time you answer someone without being totally honest, you are lying. If you are in a store and a cashier asks you how you're doing and you're not doing good, and you say you're doing good, you're not telling the truth. Of course, I'm not trying to suggest that everyone should go and make every person in the service industry subject to hear their life story or their feelings. All I'm saying is you should answer honestly with how you feel in that situation. So I'll give a quick example. There's a yoga studio I belong to, and every time I would go to the yoga studio, the owner of the yoga studio would ask me how I'm doing. Well, sometimes I would tell him really how I'm doing and go on an explanation to express myself that maybe in a particular day I'm not feeling great and here's why. He does not have to ask me how I'm doing. And honestly, if he doesn't really want to know how I'm doing, he shouldn't ask, and it would be more honest of him to not ask. So now when I go into the studio, if he doesn't want to know how I'm doing, he'll just say, "Good to see you," which is perfectly acceptable and actually a more loving interaction because we're both being truthful and honest. A different kind of example is tackling some of the societal issues, some of the societal large-scale lies that we deal with on a regular basis that we explain away, minimize, and justify. So, for example, Christmas. I'm sorry, folks, but Christmas is a lie. And there's many reasons why it's a lie. But first of all, the notion that Christmas happens on December 25th is an error. The being Yeshua, whom many people, I feel, erroneously think is God. I don't think that Jesus is God. Jesus is not God. Jesus is a person, a man, a child of God, much like myself and yourself. But Yeshua, which is actually his real name, not the Anglicized Jesus, was not even born in December. First of all, they weren't even observing the Gregorian calendar back then, right? So I think he was born sometime in like December. I think he was born in what we now know as September. But the reason why Christmas is on the date that it is because of the winter solstice, which is it's the day when the largest amount of darkness is present in the northern hemisphere, and then each day after that, slowly but surely, more light comes into each day, whereas the days become longer, as they say. So, from that perspective, Christmas is untruthful. It's also untruthful because people go around talking about Santa Claus. Santa Claus is a fictional, made-up character. And oftentimes, when I share this view with my parent friends, when I highlight that they are lying to their children by telling them about Santa Claus, they get very defensive. And they use a variety of means and excuses to justify their actions. Well, I'm trying to create magic for them, or I want to, I had a good time in my childhood, so I wanted to give it to them, okay? You hear like those kinds of things. Well, I agree that there is a real magic out there that we actually have the ability to tap into. I mean, that's why I'm making these whole videos, because the way we've been living does not allow us to tap into that magic. If a parent starts telling their child about Santa Claus, it is the parent who sets the expectations in the child for what is true and what to expect. Also, parents will teach the children that it is okay to lie under certain circumstances for certain reasons. This action, if children are allow themselves to feel the truth that they've been lied to, erodes the confidence in the parent. So, like when I return to the place where I was born and visit members of my family during the holiday seasons, they're often very confronted when I refuse to acknowledge Christmas. They say to me, well, what should I say to you? How about Happy Holidays? Or Happy Solstice, which is great. You know, I personally celebrate the solstice. I think last year it was only 3 or 4 days before Christmas anyway. So in my mind, like, that is the real holiday. And actually, if you trace the origins of Christmas back to its Roman origin, it was a pagan holiday, you know, that was co-opted and basically laid over top, and the Roman Empire forced its subjects to participate in this, you know, holiday. So there's layers of untruthfulness in the holiday, and therefore I don't celebrate it. Now, when you have these conversations with people, honestly, like, some of the, you know, you never know how they're going to react to you. And this is why it's important to experiment with truth-telling, okay? When a person starts to first recognize that they've been lied to, and they confront various people that are perpetuating that lie, it's very common for the person who's in the mode, who wants to tell truth, to project anger while they're telling the truth. And that is non-loving. However, it is a useful tool to observe yourself, and again, observe your own emotions when you're in any particular situation, to recognize, like, oh, I've still got anger in this area, right? Like, I often have many lovely interactions with people when they bring up Christmas, and I say, oh, I don't celebrate Christmas, it's not a real holiday, I celebrate the solstice, which actually is a real holiday. You can often get into very interesting conversations with people if you approach it from a loving way. Now, that's not to say that this is going to happen every time, but this is part of having courage and facing down your fear. When you start telling the truth, you're going to access your fear, you know? Think about telling your family members everything that you really believe about them and about this place. Pretty terrifying, right? Yeah. That's the terror that we need to work through. Because if you think about it just logically, if we can't tell the truth to our family members, how are we going to tell the truth to anyone else? And if we allow ourselves to lie to our family members and other people, well then, you know, we should recognize that every other person is also doing the same to us. I personally am tired of living in this age of the lie. So much so that I love truth. It is my favorite thing. I love the truth, and I love acknowledging the truth. But that being said, experiment and tread lightly. Tell the truth. Observe your emotions. Go home. Scream it out. Do whatever you need to do. But don't be afraid to experiment. Again, this is your law of attraction working. It's going to be in your benefit to observe it, understand it, and engage with it.